Have you ever wondered what a 6.7 million head livestock handling facility looked like? When I was a kid and I lived in Colorado, I drove by stockyards and feedlots all the time, but I only witnessed a fraction of this number. In 1955, Omaha's livestock market became the largest in the world. I have been in the cattle and livestock business my entire life and have hauled plenty of cattle and bison to stockyards and feedlots. I have seen many of those livestock handling facilities, but absolutely nothing like the Omaha Stockyards. First, the Omaha Stockyards covered a significant amount of ground. Next, the stockyards had a surplus of employees, grain, and revenue. Finally, the Omaha Stockyards' rivalry with the Chicago Stockyards was outstanding. First, the Omaha Stockyards covered a significant amount of ground. According to the website, livinghistoryfarm.org, in the article, The Rise and Fall of the Omaha Stockyards, it spread over 250 acres, dominating the landscape of South Omaha, and trucks were lined up for miles. When cattle had to be brought in, trucks would be lined up down the street, and stockmen even had to be used to direct the normal flow of traffic. Trucks would be blocking intersections, and traffic cops, they weren't enough. So stockmen had to go out and direct traffic and constantly get trucks unloaded because livestock would get overheated just being on a truck. Livestock were attracted from over 30 states and Canada. All in every kind of livestock. That's why it had to be so big. From cattle to beef to sheep and swine. See, I have the visual aid of a livestock handling facility. This was the Omaha Stockyards back in 1955. Covered a significant amount of ground, including the 250 acres that you see here. And it's kind of just a side profile of it. They also had walkways that went over to the stockyards to keep all the workers safe right here. And that's it today. It's been long gone for today. It got shut down. But next, the stockyards had a surplus of employees, grain, and revenue. It had 300 to 400 employees at its height. Crews were running 24/7. Livestock needed to be unloaded, they needed to be sorted, and they needed to be processed and packaged and gone. That's why it had to be 24/7. The Omaha Stockyards couldn't afford to shut down. In 1958, more than 1 million bushels of government grain was sent to the stockyards. Now just think, that's an outstanding bushels of grain. Grain had to feed the cattle, it had to feed sheep, and it had to feed the swine. According to the website livinghistoryfarm.org, in the article The Rise and Fall of the Omaha Stockyards, on a given day in the 50s, over $2.5 million worth of livestock was handled a day. Now when you think about that in relative terms to today's numbers, that's about $18 million worth of livestock a day. Finally, the rivalry of the Omaha Stockyards and the Chicago Stockyards was just massive. In the pre-1950s, cattle were shipped to the Chicago Stockyards. That was the only stockyards at the time. Then after that, cattle were shipped alive before slaughter, before refrigeration cars were invented. As soon as the refrigeration cars were invented, the Omaha Stockyards took the meat market to a whole new level. They raised the level, they raised the efficiency, and they raised the market value, shutting Chicago down for a little bit. But by 1955, Chicago had overrun Omaha. They had more cattle, they had more revenue, and they were just a better meat market overall. See, according to the website netnebraska.org, in the article Beef State, the Omaha Stockyards, by 1960, the Omaha Stockyards started to decline due to a market change. Chicago was starting to take back over. They were starting to incorporate some of these newer techniques, such as refrigeration cars and processing and handling right away. And by 1975, the bustling stockyards and packing plants that only 20 years earlier had been the largest in the world were all but gone. So the Omaha Stockyards covered a significant amount of ground, had a surplus of employees, grain, and revenue, and finally had an intense history with the Chicago Stockyards. I have seen thousands of head of cattle recently, but the little kid inside of me would enjoy to go back in time and witness such a great phenomenon this operation was. Now that you see why this operation is considered the largest handling facility and the market in the world, it has taken a massive impact in the livestock market today.